Hello again, beautiful people. Welcome back to the show. On this episode, we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions, the promise you make to yourself versus the reality. It's that time of year where we start hearing about New Year's resolutions. People all over the world are setting goals to start getting healthier, save money, learn new skills, and basically become better versions of themselves. I know the drill. It's almost like we collectively hit the reset button. But here is the thing. Have you ever noticed that a lot of those resolutions tend to fizzle out pretty quickly? Today, we're going to talk about why that happens, why New Year's resolutions often don't work, and why I think waiting until January to get serious about self-improvement is actually the problem. Okay, so first things first, let's take a look at the most common New Year's resolutions people make. According to different surveys, there are a few big ones that pop up year after year. And you've probably heard these before. Exercise more or get into shape. This one is by far the most popular, with almost 50% of people who set goals setting this one. Lose weight, almost in the same category, and right behind fitness at about 45% of people. Save more money or spend less, ranks in a solid 30% of folks trying to think about their finances more. Eating healthier, again tied into fitness, also gets its own category at about 30% of people wanting to improve their diets. Around 20% of people want to expand their knowledge or pick up new activity and learning a new hobby or skill. 20% of people also want to focus on their relationships and spend more time with their family and friends. And my personal favorite, hence why I run this podcast, reducing stress or be more mindful. Mental health is on the rise as a priority. Sadly, it still only has around 15% of people who want to aim for a more balanced life. As you can see, a lot of these resolutions are self-improvement, which is great. But here's the question. Why do we tend to struggle so much with actually following through on them? Well, I think it lies on how people try to achieve these resolutions. Let's talk about how they typically try to tackle them, right? Most people, including myself at some point, start with a burst of motivation. And this just happens to be in January, which is why I really dislike New Year's resolutions. Now, don't get me wrong. I think resolutions are great, but why set one day to do them? Anyways, I digress. People hit the gym. They start meal prepping. They sign up for that financial planning course. But then, by February, it's back to old habits. In fact, I think I saw the other day that January 17th is known as National Ditch Your New Year's Resolution Day, aside from it being National Bootleggers Day. Anyways, again, I digress. Why does that happen? Well, let's break it down. People often get stuck in these phases. First, there's the planning phase. The New Year's energy is real. People set super specific goals like, I'm going to work out 5 times a week, or I'm going to save $500 a month. The problem here is that while clear goals are great, people often forget to plan how they're going to achieve them and make these sustainable. You can't just make a plan and expect everything to fall into place. The next people get stuck in is the all or nothing mentality. If you miss one day at the gym or go over your budget by $20, you might think, well, I've already messed up now, so what's the point, right? This mindset is one of the biggest reasons people give up on their resolutions. If you don't get everything right, you think you've failed. And that's just not true. A lot of people set goals without real accountability. Another one that I used to struggle with. Maybe you tell a friend or even post about it online, but when it comes down to it, most of us need a little more than a social media post or a friend to keep us on track. And finally, willpower. Willpower. The thing everyone hopes will carry them through. But here's the reality. Willpower is a limited resource. After a long, stressful day, it is really difficult to keep up those big resolutions. Without systems in place to help you, willpower alone just won't cut it. After this short break, we are going to dive even deeper into why New Year's resolutions just don't work. Let me tell you about the Sleep With Me podcast. If you struggle to get a good night's sleep like me, I need you to check out this podcast. Each episode is crafted to help you unwind, featuring gentle storytelling designed to ease your mind and guide you into restful slumber. I kid you not. Whenever I'm anxious in bed at night, I turn it on, and before I know it, it's morning, and I'm as refreshed as I've ever been. I am not sure how it works, but trust me when I tell you, it does. So, join me and thousands of others who have turned restless nights into peaceful sleep with the help of the Sleep With Me podcast. Go Global is a free-flowing technology company that handcrafts, embellishes, and manufactures garments and accessories. Designed on the principles of people, places, and possibilities, Go Global reimagines fashion and is inspired by you, the people of the world. All right, let's get into the meat of it. Why don't New Year's resolutions work? And I want to be clear here. Like I mentioned before, I'm not saying having goals is bad. Not at all. Setting goals is actually really important to self-growth. But the way we approach resolutions often sets us up for failure. Allow me to explain. One of the biggest issues with New Year's resolutions is people think that they can only start making changes on January 1st. That's when the magic happens, right? Wrong. Here's the thing. Waiting for New Year's to reflect on your life goals is just, well, it's kind of arbitrary. Why not start now? Every day is an important opportunity for growth. The idea that there's this perfect time to start is really just a mental block, and we all fall for it. And yes, ironically enough, I'm hitting you with this episode on January 1st and just asked you why not start now. I know. Bear with me. You can listen to this over and over again any day of the week, any month of the year that you please, and the message stands the same. It just happens that this is on New Year's as it is a New Year's resolution episode. Similarly, sticking on the theme of January 1st, another issue is that New Year's resolutions are often treated like a one-time event. You set your goals and it's like, all right, here's the year where I'm going to turn my life around. But real change doesn't happen in a day or even a month. It's an ongoing process. You can't just decide to lose 50 pounds or decide to run a marathon and think it will magically happen. You need systems in place, and those systems take time to develop. How many of you have set a big, audacious goal like, I'm going to work out 5 times a week, and then by the end of January, or January 17th, as I mentioned, you're struggling to go once? Setting goals that are too big, too soon, or not aligned with your actual lifestyle is a recipe for disaster. Realistic goals that are broken down into smaller, achievable actions work way better. The reason resolutions fail so often is also because they're not rooted in something deep. What do I mean? Well, you might say, I want to lose weight. But why? Is it because you perhaps want more energy to play with your kids, or because you want to just feel more confident in your own skin? Again, ask yourself why. Why do you want to feel more confident in your own skin? Why do you want to have more energy to play with your kids? Well, you don't want to miss out on those early childhood years. Okay, cool. How many times can you break down the question and play the why game to find the deep root, that emotional connection that will drive you when willpower is just not enough, and stay motivated when things get tough? Yes, I know. We are at the end of a long, exhaustive list of the reasons why New Year's resolutions fail, but this one is perhaps the most important. We often focus way too much on the outcome, the I want to be healthier or the I want to be debt-free. Sounds amazing, but what we neglect is the process. Real progress happens when we focus on the little actions we take every single day. If your sights are set on the finish line and nothing else, you will burn out because it will always seem so far away. However, if you celebrate small wins, small milestones, tiny finish lines, if you will, the journey becomes a lot more fun and much more rewarding. All right, here is the big takeaway. New Year's resolutions aren't the problem. It's the idea that we have to wait until January 1st, again, I know that's today, to get serious about our lives. Why not treat every day as an opportunity for growth, for a fresh start? We don't need to tie growth to our calendar. So, if you're ready to start seeing real, sustainable progress throughout the year, I'm going to give you the 6-step guide that I use to help you break free from the cycle of January resolutions and help you set up yourself for long-term success. Okay, I mentioned it early on. Start with the why. Start here. It is not enough just to say, I want to lose weight or I want to save more money. You have to dig deeper, and I will hammer this point home. Ask yourself why until you can't answer the question any longer. Do you want to feel more energized by going to the gym? Do you want to be able to play your kids without getting tired, as I mentioned? Or maybe you want to gain that financial security to reduce stress. The deeper your emotional connection to the goal can be, the more motivated, the more driven you will be when things get tough. Here's a tip. Write down your why and keep it visible in multiple locations around your home. Revisit it regularly to remind yourself of the bigger picture. Step 2, break goals into smaller, achievable actions. I also mentioned this. Instead of setting that one big, overwhelming goal, like running that marathon, break it down into daily tasks. Perhaps start by walking for 20 minutes each day, then increase your distance or your speed. Smaller, consistent actions help you build that momentum and are easier to stick with than giant leaps. We've all been taught it. Use SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound to help you break your bigger goals into smaller, digestible pieces. I'm not going to dive into the nitty-gritty of SMART in this episode. I'm sure there are plenty of great other videos, other podcasts that break this down for you. If I find one, I will put it in the description below. The third step to breaking the New Year's resolution cycle is create systems. Goals are important, but it's the systems you put in place, the purposeful actions you do to make your everyday steps attractive, make your goals achievable. For example, let's use money. If your goal is to save more money, your system might be setting up an automatic transfer to your savings account every payday. Systems make success sustainable because they remove the decision-making process and help you stay consistent. Think about what daily or weekly habits you can build that will naturally lead to your goal. Create routines around those habits. Paychecks, automatic deposits. Step 4, embrace imperfection and adapt. This was my personal most difficult. But here's the hard truth. You will slip up. Shit happens. The key to long-term progress is learning to bounce back instead of quitting. Miss a workout? Happens. Eating out when you plan to cook? Doesn't mean you failed either. It's an opportunity to learn, to figure out why that might have happened, to adapt, to grow, and to keep going. Every time you hit one of those small victories we've mentioned, it feels amazing. So don't let a small setback derail you. Every day is a new chance to get back on track. Try not to make those small derailments a habit. Develop that resilience, develop that self-compassion, and figure out a way through when things don't go perfectly. On that theme, step 5 is celebrating the small wins when they happen. Big achievements are great, but they can feel so far away, especially in the beginning. Celebrate the small wins along the way. Did you work out 3 times instead of once this week? Awesome. Did you save 50 instead of blowing into your budget? Woo, that's a win too. Recognizing and celebrating this progress keeps you motivated. In fact, you can set mini milestones to reward yourself for hitting them. It can be as simple as treating yourself to a relaxing evening or enjoying your favorite meal. And if you're on the financial train, it can be spending one of those 25 installments that you've done on yourself when you reach $125, because if your math brain works like mine do, you still want to see that 100 in your bank account. And finally, step 6, reviewing and reflecting regularly. Don't wait until next January to reassess the goals you've just made or a year from the date you've made them. Regular reflection helps you stay aligned with your bigger vision. Set aside time every month, every week, every day, if that's something that you want to do, to check in on your progress, make those adjustments if necessary, and reflect on the positives and negatives, the what's working and what's not. I find it helpful to keep a journal or tracker visible on my nightstand where I can jot down my progress, my challenges, and my learnings. This little journal will help you stay focused and make tweaks as you go along. Sometimes don't write in it either. I found that I write and scribble and just kind of my thoughts flow onto the page, then I never revisit those thoughts, right? It's one thing to get them out. It's another thing, maybe take a night instead of writing, to look back at the progress you've made, at the hurdles you've overcome, or at the doors you've run into that are still closed. Whew. That was a lot, I know, but that is it for today's episode. My point is this: It's not about abandoning New Year's resolutions, but rather understanding that real change comes from consistency and daily action, not waiting for the new year to roll around. So start now, whenever you're listening to this. Small steps every day. Keep showing up for yourself because you are beautiful and you deserve it. Thank you so much for listening. If you found any of this information helpful, please share it with someone who could use a little encouragement. And remember, start now. You don't have to wait till tomorrow, till next month, till next year to start becoming the best version of yourself. You've got this.